Hey there everybody, welcome back to Agronomy Doc. We're out in our Dryland field looking at an experiment that I talked about earlier, I think, where we had questions around ultra early seeding from a farmer perspective, with the question, well, if ultra early works, why don't I just seed it in the fall? And I kind of at first persisted with telling people, if you want to plant in the fall, plant winter wheat. But you know, there's all kinds of market class implications. We've got, what is it now, 8 spring wheat market classes out west, or 8 wheat classes, sorry, out west. So you know, that's a real personal decision based on your own farm dynamics and business plan. So I get that, and winter wheat either fits or it doesn't with that. So we know Durum would, with the last paper that we published on ultra early seeding, and just sort of anecdotally in some other published reports, is like Durum as a tetraploid compared to our hexaploid CWRS bred wheats would be a little bit weaker in the fall, we think, if it was planted then. But what you have in front of you is a bunch of dormant planted treatments. So we started with a prescriptive practice of waiting, kind of the opposite of ultra early. In this case, we're monitoring soil temperatures, and then we're waiting until it cools down to, in this case, 4 degrees, and then we plant, and then 2 degrees, and then 0 degrees, and then we compare that to our ultra early, and finally planting in the 3rd week of April. So again, this was planted in the fall, October, November kind of thing, when it cooled down to 4, and it took forever because it was super hot and dry last fall. So this could have even been into November. And then what you have here, and I mean, look at this, it doesn't look too bad at all. Like, probably better than a lot of the dryland fields that we had last year. If you look at this one, we waited until it cooled down to 2 degrees, and I would say that's probably looking even a little bit better. Again, a spring Durum CDC Defy planted in the fall. And then we had a storm coming, so we jammed in a few of these. And so this was going in about the 3rd week of November, let's say. And that's what you see there. So this was supposed to be our 0, but I think 0 and 2 actually got planted on the same day. And then what we finally have here is one of our ultra early seeded ones. So that was waiting until the soils warmed up, which in our case was February 3rd, to get into that window of 1 to 3 degrees in the top 2 inches. And then lastly, planting when we think a conventional planting would be, say, in our case, 3rd week of April. So this might actually end up being the best one. I don't know yet. It depends on how well it is able to fill and set seed, because it was sort of flowering still when we started to hit those 30+ degree temperatures in July. But it's taller, as you can see, and this is just one rep, but they're all kind of like that, these treatments, where this final one. So if you got in the 3rd week, which I know it was pretty wet, a lot of people didn't, but this might be okay. We'll have to see how it compares to the other treatments. And then so that's our Durum, which looked pretty good this year. And then again, starting over, this is the latest greatest potentially CWRS that's going to potentially overtake Brandon as for acreage on the prairies. And WestKing's looking good, and that's planted in the fall at 4 degrees. I mean, it looks fantastic. And then same thing, waited till it cooled to 2, then 0, and all, I mean, they look great. They look great, and they're done flowering before we got that really bad spell of heat that's still ongoing. Then ultra early, and then finally 3rd week of April. So again, which one would you take, right? It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out come harvest. And then another interesting variety here, Oakman, which is a solid stem variety that'll finally give us a nice soft fly tolerant variety, solid stem variety in the CWRS class. So again, 4 degrees in the fall, 2 degrees in the fall, 0 degrees in the fall, ultra early at 1 to 3 degrees once the soil's warmed up again in winter, and then again 3rd week in April. So again, a little bit taller. We'll see what happens. And then lastly, an interesting variety out of Quebec. And we're just interested to see how something like this with a high degree of Fusarium resistance, I think it was Arkel, was it? Something like that. I should have checked that maybe before we did this. But anyway, again, fall planted for 2-0. And again, this is something that's bred for Eastern Canada and Europe, I believe. So, you know, we're not expecting great things with respect to adaptation, but still, looks not bad. Little on the late side, I would say, for this final one that we seeded in the 3rd week of April. But again, taller because it probably took a little bit more advantage. Those spring rains came a little late and would have benefited a 3rd week in April. So that's the upside to the 3rd week in April. The downside may be that it was still flowering and got caught by that heat stress, which is not a good thing. It's going to interfere with seed set. So it's a bit of a toss-up which one will be the best, but we'll update you at harvest. Thanks.